Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. I'm not gay. And because of how much they've interfered with my videos, I'm going to have to emphasize things that I otherwise wouldn't, to show them I'm in charge, and to show God that I'm doing my duty, and to stick up for God and myself, what have you. So this video is about Luke chapter 15 and Luke chapter 16. In Luke chapter 15, we see the parable of the lost sheep, where it talks about how there's more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who's saved than 99 righteous people who complete their journey. And it talks about the reason why Christ, as a character in the story, was hanging around sinners, like tax collectors, what have you. And so he tells them a parable, and that is the point of the parable. One can draw parallels between, the lost sheep and the Jews, because basically in reality, when it comes to white Jews and LGBT people, every other group on the planet basically was more righteous than they were historically, at least since the Roman Empire rose to power. And so obviously they shouldn't be heading the churches and the mosques and the synagogues and their traditions with their assets, what have you. The next is the parable of the lost coin, where there's 10 silver coins. And the woman who's looking for them can be seen as wisdom. It can be seen as a nation that is trying to serve God, not a nation of this world. No nation in this world is trying to serve God. And the 10 silver coins represent different components of insight, as silver is connected to insight in the Bible. And we see that there's a lamp being used to search from. That lamp is the light of God, the light of the human spirit that's in allegiance to God, the light of God's spirit. There's a lot of connections there. It's also the light of justice, Isaiah 51:4, the light of righteousness and justice. We see righteousness often being used interchangeably with the word justice. And so in order for somebody to really have insight, they have to be righteous and just and refine their spiritual thinking, refine their thinking. It's, their thinking should be universally moral. Not something that's in some kind of fairy trance or something. That's different from the Pharisees. They had their own kind of tribal system and universal justice. So in the next section, it's the parable of the lost son. There's two sons given inheritance, right? And one of them squanders his inheritance and goes out and acts like, some kind of ruffian, some kind of brute, some kind of, just person who lacks sense. He could be a martial artist who lacks sense, just a person who lacks sense. When he is said to come to his senses, specifically it says he came to his senses, right? In Proverbs we see that it says that fools die for lack of sense, and also that for lack of discipline people die, what have you. So when he comes to his senses, he returns home, and his father, immediately, embraces him and gives him nice things, and they have all kinds of symbolic meaning that aren't so important. And his other brother is jealous, and he says, why are you, sacrificing a fattened calf and celebrating that this other person has, arrived, when he never did those things for him while he was there. And he says to his son that all he has belongs to him already. He just has to kind of ask for it the right way and with the right intentions. But he's happy that his lost son has returned. Okay, and this symbolizes, people who are, so for example, the human race is one big family, and this is a Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order. Anyone who's meant to kind of obey God in time is a son of God. Everyone else is some kind of stumbling block, some kind of devil, some kind of worm to be discarded to hell. And these are the the harsh facts for those who don't want to accept it. So in Luke chapter 16, you have the parable of the shrewd manager. It's basically about somebody who's going to be fired by his boss, and he starts, settling debts for less money than they owed in order to kind of build up goodwill, which is really bad will in society. And the manager, who's basically turns into the devil in a sense, commends him for it and treats him well for it, what have you. And that symbolizes what it says in Psalms, where it says, to the faithful you show yourself righteous and faithful, right? To the devious you show yourself shrewd. So that shrewd manager is being set up to go to hell, but he's useful to God. He's a useful idiot. And it says in that same section, you can't serve God and money, right? And that guy's serving money, and he's trying to save his own life. He's not being honorable, right? He had fallen out of grace for doing the wrong thing at the beginning of the story is the most logical interpretation.